Hello everyone, I'm starting this one off a little bit differently. It's windy up here, you can tell by the beard. We are up at Vista House, which you can see right over here on a cold and blustery day. And what we're gonna do is ride the road behind us down, and this is where all the waterfalls are in the historic Columbia River Gorge. So we're gonna get on the bikes, and I'll tell you more about it when we get going.
Well, hello everyone, it's me, Dewey, and I about wrecked the bike trying to give you the peace signs, but we are out here on the historic Columbia River Gorge Highway. So this road was started in 1913 and completed in 1922, and this is actually the very first scenic byway in the United States. So it really set the precedence of building a road specifically for sightseeing, and it's really quite amazing when you think about it. 1913 doesn't seem that old, but the Model T was invented in 1906 and released. So only 7 years after the Model T came out, they built this road specifically for people to drive on to see the scenic sights. So this area is really, really incredible. There are about 50 waterfalls in this area, and it actually has the highest concentration of waterfalls anywhere in North America. So along the road today, what we're going to do is go stop at a bunch of them that are easy to get to in motorcycle boots in the rain, so we don't really have to do any hiking. These are all accessible from the road, and I think we're going to stop at about 6 of them. I think there's 6 or 7. One of them is a bit of a hike, so we may not do that, but we're going to get to see some neat stuff. A really pretty ride. We're not going very fast, it's wet out, there's traffic, so we're just kind of cruising along, but this is, even at a slow speed, this is just a beautiful little ride and something that everybody should get to experience, and especially the waterfalls. And one of the ones we're going to stop at is Multnomah Falls, which is incredibly famous and incredibly popular, and it is really beautiful. Hopefully it's not too crowded, and hopefully with the COVID restrictions it's open enough for us to at least get up to it. But a few of the other ones are a lot lesser known and equally as stunning and equally as interesting, and some of them have even better views than you might get at Multnomah Falls just because of their location and proximity to the river. But this old road was actually the U.S. interstate system's cross-country route. It was the first one to go to the West Coast prior to them building the freeway that's down here now. You had everything coming on this road, from big trucks or lorries as you would call them carrying goods to families out picnicking. So you can only imagine what it's like to drive a big truck and trailer through these switchbacks in this narrow road. Those guys were pretty skilled in something else, and this was probably gravel back then. It probably wasn't paved in 1913, so you can only imagine this, a 9-degree downslope and gravel in a truck weighing 80,000 pounds when it was still narrow and with all these trees. I'll try to dig up, I don't know if I'll end up getting some, but I'm going to try to dig up some old historic photos to post through here and maybe show you what it was like back then. But it really hasn't changed much, and you'll notice in different parts of the video here there's a wall on the left side where the drop-off is, and it's all hand-cut rock. It's not concrete like they would build stuff out of today, and it's really neat that they keep it and that they have that historical bit everywhere along the road that makes it still feel like it's an old historic highway. So what we're doing now is dropping down where all of the waterfalls are, and our first one is actually going to be coming up here in just a minute. There's a bridge and a viewpoint and a small hike that you can see a little bit better view of it. So here we are at the first one. I'm going to try to get a shot from the bridge, and you may be able to see it as we go by here. But there's the waterfall back in there. There it is. right there. So we'll park and get off the bikes here and check this one out.
Here we are at the first waterfall when you're coming from the west and going east on the Columbia Gorge Highway, and right behind me is Latourell Falls. So this is literally a 1,000-foot walk from the parking lot to this viewpoint. Down there, you can follow that trail and walk all the way down to the waterfall pool. And there's probably some people down there, but in motorcycle boots and just doing a quick tour, we're just gonna come up to this viewpoint and get going. So that's waterfall number 1. That's a pretty impressive one. Let's see what else we get as we keep going on down the road.
Well, that was Latourell Falls, and here we are back on the road, and my face mask is fogging up. So we're gonna keep cruising along here. I believe the next one is Shepperd's Dell, and it should be coming up here pretty quick. I don't know how much of a stop this one's going to be because I believe the trail is closed due to a landslide that happened here very recently, so I don't think we'll be able to, but there's a sidewalk on the bridge that crosses the creek, and I believe from there we'll be able to see the falls and at least show you that, but we won't be able to do the short hike. It's a similar hike to this last one where it goes so fast, it's, you know, maybe 500 feet to 1,000 feet off the roadway, and they're well maintained, so it's really accessible for almost anybody who wants to come see these. That is the really nice thing about it, is everything is so close to this road that anything is accessible by anybody. You don't have to be in good physical shape to get to them, and a lot of it is even disabled access friendly and wheelchair access on some of the more major falls that don't have gravel trails, that have paved trails. So we're going to keep an eye out here for Shepperd's Dell while we enjoy the rest of this ride. But you get some great scenery coming through this section. I always love it through here, and these are the old stone built pieces that I was talking about. So here's Shepperd's Dell, which is right down here. You can see the trail's closed, but we are still going to try to park here and go see the waterfall. This one I didn't even bother to take my helmet off, but you can see that Shepperd's Dell right there. It's a pretty little waterfall with the historic bridge. That trail's closed, so we just popped right up here. You can see we parked right down there and got to see this view. So that was Shepperd's Dell. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see as much of it as we might have liked hiking down there, but it's a good little viewpoint. The next one that we're coming up to is Bridal Falls. Bridal, you actually have to park in a parking lot, and it's about a quarter-mile hike down to where the waterfall is, because the waterfall is actually basically right under the road. They built the bridge essentially over the waterfall, so you hike down below it, and then you can see Bridal. And you can see that was literally, these are all about 2 minutes apart from each other. There is just a huge concentration of them. It really is amazing just how many waterfalls are back here.
So this one is Bridal Falls. So this is the third one. This is a 2-tiered fall. and it has got a lot of water going through right now because it's the winter and rain's coming down. So we're gonna hit the road on the motorcycles and get to the next one.
So we are just leaving Bridal Falls, and we are on our way to Wahkeena Falls, which again is just barely up the road here. And there will be another little parking area. And Wahkeena Falls is actually one of my absolute favorites. I think it is just really pretty. It's got a creek that bubbles down a whole bunch of rocks under the waterfall. I think it is my favorite little place to go on a short hike, and it's usually not very busy because it's kind of one of the lesser known ones actually. So what is actually right here in all this parking is there are a couple of hiking trails, and this is one of the most spectacular views anywhere in the gorge when you climb up here about 1,500 feet up the road. It's called Angel's Rest, and it's a bit of a work. I'm certainly not going to do it in motorcycle boots, but it is an absolutely beautiful spot to go take a day hike to. Yeah, well, now we're coming into the area where in 2017 the large Eagle Creek fire came all the way this far west and burned through a lot of this area. You can see that a lot of the undergrowth is gone. That was a really huge fire that was unfortunately set by somebody setting off fireworks in the middle of summer in the forest, and it burned a huge amount. And there's Wahkeena Falls.
This is my favorite. I just love this little bubbling brook that's just over here on the other side. I think it is an absolutely beautiful falls. It's really tall. Unfortunately today the trail's closed. You can see a bridge up there, and normally you can walk up to the bridge and see the upper falls really well, but we're not going to be able to do that today. So we just came to the first little viewpoint here, which is just outside of the parking lot. Once again, there's no real hiking involved to get here, but from Wahkeena, the next one is the world famous Multnomah Falls.
And back on the road. So we're gonna see, we may end up having to edit this out of order because the Multnomah Falls parking lot may be closed due to COVID, but we have a plan for that. Hopefully it works out. I just gotta keep my visor from fogging. That's been the real struggle today, is the foggy visor. But we got a nice little break. The drizzle stopped here for a few minutes, so we may get super lucky with Multnomah Falls and get to see it a little bit. And it looks like the parking lot is open. Front, yeah. So let's go see. So this is a pretty spectacular sight, everybody. So especially the people who aren't from around here and aren't my close friends that are my followers, I think this is going to be a real treat for you to see this right here. Look at that fall.
All right, so here we are at the world famous Multnomah Falls. So Multnomah Falls is a huge waterfall. It's 642 feet. So you can see it there behind me. It's a long ways up. There is a hiking trail that goes all the way up, and there's an observation deck at the top that you can look down. And that first main drop that you're seeing right there is 540 feet on its own. So we're out here in the parking lot because it's so busy right now that I didn't want to have to try to talk about it in film while we were up there with everybody. But we will get up there and we'll get some camera shots and some video of what it looks like so you can see the whole falls. And then from there we'll get back on the road and hit the last waterfall on our list.
All right, so that is us leaving Multnomah Falls, and now it is time to get on to the last waterfall along this route, which is Horsetail Falls. So it has been a great way to spend a kind of rainy and drizzly northwest day, but we got to see a whole lot of really nice waterfalls. And I'm going to be honest, I live not very far from here, only a few minutes, and I can't remember the last time that I took a day and actually stopped at every one of the waterfalls. So I really got a lot of enjoyment out of getting to make this one and getting to film it, because I got to do something I haven't done in a very long time myself. So it gave me a reason to go out and explore an area just outside of my hometown that I probably don't get to very often. And as I was saying earlier, before I kind of ran into the waterfalls, you can see the remnants of the fire in 2017, the Eagle Creek fire. I don't know internationally if it made the news, but it was at least national news here in the United States, because it burned such a pretty and historic place, and it was set by somebody who made a really dumb mistake to set off fireworks in this area in the summer with all these trees when everything was dry. But it looks like we're probably going to be getting into some traffic here, which is pretty normal, and the roads are wet, so we're not going very fast to begin with anyway. But we will go by the one that we're not going to stop at is right up here, and it's Wahkeena Gorge. And it is a really, really cool place to go hike in the summer, but the trail to get to the waterfall goes in through the creek and through a gorge, and at one point you're usually about chest deep in water going through this narrow gorge just to get back to the waterfalls. And this water is cold. It's coming straight off the mountain, which is just behind us in the clouds. So the water temperature is in the 30s when it comes down to these waterfalls. So it is really, really cold water. You do not want to be going in this in the winter. But when it's 90 degrees in the summer, it's a great place to go cool down, spend some time in the water, and it's an incredibly beautiful hike. Unfortunately, it's often pretty crowded now. When I was a kid, we used to come out here and there was nobody here. We'd have the whole place to ourselves, and now there's thousands of people that come out and see it. But you can't change that. You can't change what people do. Maybe one day I'll get out here and get some video of it and do the hike and show you what it's like, but I'm definitely not going to be doing it today, and definitely not in motorcycle gear. Even though I'm wearing Gore-Tex, I'm not going waist deep in water. That's not going to work well. Here is where Wahkeena Gorge is, and they even have it completely closed and blocked off, you can see, but there's nobody behind us, so I'll go slow. The hiking trail actually climbs up this creek about a mile up that gorge, and that's where the waterfall is at. And here we're coming up to Horsetail Falls right here. This one's cool because it is right off of the road here, so you can see it right there. So we'll go park, take a little video, show you what this one is like, and then Rick and I are gonna probably start heading back, so I will close this video out at that point. That was Horsetail Falls. That was the last one of the 6 waterfalls that we're stopping at today. There are some more farther up the road on the other side of the highway, and there's a lot of waterfalls if you're willing to do a little bit of hiking. Like I said, there's about 50 in this stretch of road. The bit that we covered today was only about 5 miles worth of road, and we saw all of those beautiful waterfalls in such a small area. It really is quite amazing. But as you can tell by the drops everywhere here, the rain has started, so I think we're going to call it a day. We got pretty lucky to get the stretch we did without any real rain, just some mist. So thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I appreciate any comments and like and subscribe. I like to think that the audio and the video is getting better on each of these. If you agree, I really would appreciate to hear it, or if you have any feedback of things that I could do better, I also appreciate that. But until next time, it's Dewey out.